So it would appear that everything's going to hell in a handbasket very, very quickly. Just look at everything that's going on around us here. I saw that Tucker got just kind of kicked out. Fox got sued for $800 million because Tucker slandered Dominion's name, which I seem to remember the other side slandering the voting machines as well.
Stop using touchscreen computer voting because it's so vulnerable. Right. We need to look at all the voting machines. Every Secretary of State needs to be, assisted in making sure that they are not being hacked and attacked.
I continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling them.
It is the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risks.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
Workers.
So you see, it was okay for them to slander the machines when Trump won. But, yeah, rules for thee, but not for me. That's pretty messed up. And then Boston, I would think that this would come from maybe Texas or Florida, maybe, first. But I didn't think this was going to come from Boston. But Boston had a straight pride parade. And a lot of them said, hey, we have our gay friends here. They're supporting us, right? You had your parade. We're having ours, right? Isn't this equality? But obviously they were met with force. People were calling it hate speech. And check this out. They were interviewing this guy. And they go right to...
Is this different than, say, white people celebrating whiteness?
White? There you go, right away. No. You went right to that. You said white. Why did you say white?
Parade order.
Because they always do. And then you got this poor girl here. God, she's going to be one confused person when she gets older. She's holding a sign saying, make normalcy normal again. What is that supposed to mean? You don't want a dude dressed up as a chick taking a dump in your bathroom? It's a giant clown show. There's the clown. Old Krusty. So let's go over what we've learned so far. If you have gay pride, it's fine. If you have straight pride, or if you're white, or if you have one of these, and you believe in the Constitution and have pride in your country, and take pride in that thing behind me, you're a terrorist. Got it. But then yet, this happens. And this is like a literal clown show. Check this out.
Back a wild animal into a corner, they're going to become a dangerous animal. So if you want to die on that hill of yours of righteousness and moral majority, then you go right ahead. I dare you to try and stop me from going into a women's bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make. I dare you to try and stop a transgender woman in my presence from using the bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make. This is a call to action and a call to arms to everybody within the United States that are scared, worried, have children that are transgender, lesbian, bi, or gay. This is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple. Go out, buy a gun, learn how to use it efficiently, through and through, because the time to act is now. You need to protect yourself and you need to protect your fellow transgender brothers and sisters and theys and thems. You need to protect the rest of us in the LGBT community, as I'm going to do myself. because there are lots of people like me who are not afraid to die.
I guess when you gotta go, right? And I get it. I poop with my gun on me too, because you never know who's in the stall next to you. And honestly, if I put lipstick on, let my hair down, put a dress on, and I had the choice between male and female bathroom, I would choose the male bathroom, and I'll tell you why. You know, I've been doing plumbing a long time, and I've been into many a female bathrooms in my day. And 9 times out of 10, the male bathroom is cleaner. I mean, you ever think about why you never see your girlfriend poop? It's either she doesn't poop, or she's a ninja. Or her shit doesn't smell. Or, possibly, she's going into a public place and unleashing. At least she could point the finger. It was her, it wasn't me! Right. So, I was trying to make heads or tails of all of this. You know, because I potentially see it even within my own family. And I wanted to understand it. I really did. I wanted to understand exactly what this is. And I tried to like really just put myself in their shoes. I tried that. You know what I mean? But just none of it made sense to me. Like, because usually it takes, and these are all my conspiracy theories, by the way. I have no facts, I have no data, and I'm a moron. We already know that. But usually it takes a very large portion of the population to come together to wield this metaphorical stick, right? And yet only 1 or 2% of the population somehow got their hands on this metaphorical stick. And I'm like, is it really them that has the stick, or is it someone else that has the stick? I don't know who has the stick. I want to know who has the stick. So I started digging, and I see these college kids cite different books and different ideologies and whatever. And I'm like, maybe I need to get woke. So I started digging into Marxism and queer theory. And the more I dug, the more stressed out I got. But also, it started to make sense. It started to make perfect sense. Everything that's happened, everything that's going on, it all kind of just came together all of a sudden. So these people here, they are foot soldiers, suicide bombers. They are brainwashed by a cult to believe that the entire world is out to get them. And they must act now. Get a gun! My they, them, sisters and brothers. Learn how to use it. The time to act is now. Is that not what it looks like there? Maybe. So, and here's the thing that scares me. And I hope people can get to these people and help them. Because could you imagine for a second, and it's obvious, it was a clear choice of why. Why would you go after somebody that's not all there? Because it would be very easy to grab them and bring them into this group and you maybe make them feel good about themselves. So they have friends now. They have this community, right? They're part of a greater thing. They're part of a cult that brainwashed them. And the problem is, I fear, when they outlive their usefulness, that they're going to be cast away like pieces of garbage. And if you're not already, if you're already kind of mentally not all there, and then you fall for this cult, they make you feel better about yourself, right? You fit in, you have a place. You know, it all makes sense now. I was in the wrong body, of course, right? But what happens when that same person wasn't all there to begin with, and now they just found out that they've been lied to, and they felt for some lie, cult, and they've been cast away? Can you imagine the anger and the confusion and sadness and just everything that comes along with that? And clearly, they're arming up. Yeah, man, things are just, they're getting out of hand. You remember, they like to call people conspiracy theorists, right? You're a dangerous conspiracy theorist. Well, let's go back and look at some of the previous conspiracy theories that ended up being true. Like, we could go back to the Area 51 conspiracy theorist guy. Remember Obamacare? That you weren't going to be able to keep your doctor? What happened there? Or the whole masks thing? That they don't do anything? Oh, that was true. How about the Wuhan lab leak theory?
Watch the news, watch the news. Trust the experts, trust the experts. Trust the science, trust the science. CDC, CDC, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci. Mask on, mask off, 2 shots, 1 shot, mask on, 2 masks. Comply, comply.
They censored people and shut them down for that. That was a dangerous conspiracy theory. Oops. Looks like it came from the lab. My bad. How about the jab? You don't have to worry. You're not going to get sick. If you get it, you're good. You have nothing to worry about. False. I know that personally because I got COVID from somebody who was triply vaccinated and spread COVID to somebody who was triply vaccinated. How about maybe the Biden laptop theory? I mean, that one's kind of taking a while to play out, but I actually heard, I mean, this is conspiracy theories, but I heard there was a anonymous who came forward and said, hey, I have information that would put anybody in jail that directly pertains to the Biden laptop. And he's like, I'm not coming forward. I'm not telling you who I am or the information I have until you can guarantee my safety. Like, who the hell are we dealing with here? Yikes. Remember the gain of function research? Dangerous conspiracy theory. Oops. That was my mistake. But see, this is the thing. You never hear a sorry. There's no accountability. These people are ruthless, and they wonder. They wonder why there's militias forming.
I'm still believing everything they say!
And I did a little research. They've been forming they were forming back in 95. And they call it a white angry male movement. Check this out.
Mr. Johnson.
Hi, how you guys doing? Senators? One of the things I wanted to bring up, first let me tell you who I am. Name's James Johnson, co-founder of a group called E Pluribus Unum, and one of the leaders and spokesperson for the Ohio Unorganized Militia. I've spoken to many groups around Ohio and in other states, and I've also helped start some groups. Now, what I wanted to touch on was what Mr. Thompson said. I think he focused on a key point, which was why these groups are forming. Why is it growing like it is? And that's some of the topics that need to be addressed. And I think maybe you can talk to some people on the inside like you have here to answer those questions. To put it to you bluntly, some of the legislation that's coming out of Washington, some of the executive actions that are taking place, ladies and gentlemen, these things started a revolution 200 years ago and got this country started. And the people are seeing this. The national news media and the actions of this government is some of the best recruitment we could have. We don't have to say much. All you have to do is talk to the average person out there to tell you, how do you feel about your government? And the people you look at here, we're the calm ones. We're the ones that calm people down. Now, I'm speaking here as a representative for my state and other groups that I know of. The animosity that I see out there between the citizens, all of them, and the government is frightening. What they did was, after listening to all these abuses and government atrocities that you're going to hear here today, and they saw that they were going to no avail, they decided to see what they could do to become part of the solution. They looked into the law, and under Title 10 USC 311, saw a phenomenon known as the unorganized militia that consists of all people, even the people taking these pictures right here, everyone. And they began to form themselves in units for their own self-defense and their self-preservation. Now, the way we stand now, and it's good that we're getting these views aired out, because 200 years ago, the British didn't get the hint until they saw dead redcoats out there. But this time, maybe we can get this out in the open and have things resolved. Because I feel, and it's concerning to me, and I'm being sincerely honest, that with the increasing polarization between the tax-paying public out here and what goes on, not only in here, but certain state governments, that the only thing standing between some of the current legislation being contemplated and armed conflict is time.
But potentially your grandfather fought or died for this country, fighting communism so that their kids could have a better life, so that their kids could go to college and get a college education. And these college kids are coming out of college pushing communism. They're ungrateful, and they're essentially calling their own grandparents racist and fascist. Do you not see what's going on here? This has been a very, very, very slow psychological war, and it's been going on for years. And unfortunately, I don't think there's enough of the population that is realizing what's really going on here. Everyone thinks it's all about being nice, being inclusive. How come it's not equality and inclusion? You ever think about that? Why is it not equality and inclusion, but instead they put equity? Think about that. Think about those two words and why they choose their words very, very carefully. So in my opinion, if we lose these right here, you have no idea what oppression really is until these things are gone. They take these from us. You think they're going to give a shit about what bathroom you want to use? I have news for you. They don't care. And you see this. I mean, they're going after the guns so hard. They have so many people brainwashed. Half of them don't even know what they're talking about. Check this out.
Everyone's subjected to their belief whether they want to support guns or not, and it's really sad how a lot of people, they feel like the gun is the only situation and it's the only solution, but I feel like if we all can come together as a country and believe that you don't need arms to protect yourself, we can all be a united nation and want peace, and we can eliminate guns. If we look at different countries, they have a lot less guns and they're more so a safer country.
So what are some examples that come to mind when you think of that?
I usually think about just, could you like repeat that?
So what countries do you think about when you think about that?
I think about countries like Switzerland. Like when I hear about it, they talk about how peaceful it is and how there's not a lot of like issues and a lot of violence. And even if you look in like countries like Korea and stuff, they don't have this kind of issue.
Well, you mentioned Switzerland. There, people actually can own fully automatic firearms, which a lot more easily than they can in the United States. Yeah. And they actually have, relative to the rest of the world, a very high rate of gun ownership. I think something like over 30 per 100 people, so like 30%. Well, 30 guns for every 100 people.
But wait, it gets even better.
Now, in order to steal the wealth of America, it's not just enough to have the makers and the takers. People think, oh dear, we're reaching an America where the takers outnumber the makers. They're going to outvote us in November. No, there actually aren't enough of them to do that. In order to sell this is a very special kind of theft. The progressives have to sell America on a story. It's a story about social justice and injustice. And it's got to be a story in which they are the good guys. And the Democratic Party is the party of the good guys. It's the party of the little guy, of the outsider, of minorities, of women, of African Americans. It was the party that delivered civil rights. This is basically the story of the Democratic National Convention. What's pretty remarkable about this story is it goes largely uncontested. And yet, this story is a complete and total lie. This is the theme of my latest movie, Hillary's America, which is out in DVD this week, and the accompanying book, Hillary's America, which I believe is available here today. The Democratic Party, amazingly enough, is the party that threw the American Indians off their land and did the Trail of Tears. The Democratic Party is also the party that for 50 years vigorously defended slavery. Now, after the Civil War, the Democrats realized that their hands were stained with blood and that it would look bad for them to be seen as the party of slavery, and so they redefined the whole debate to make it a North-South debate. The Democrats redefined the debate, so they said, oh yes, the Civil War was between the anti-slavery North and the pro-slavery South. But if you studied this even a little bit, you know, first of all, that most Southerners did not own slaves. And most Confederates did not own slaves. And the Northern Democratic Party, led by Stephen Douglas, protected slavery with the same zeal and enthusiasm as the Southern Democrats. So the slavery debate was not between the North and the South. It was, in fact, between the anti-slavery Republican Party and the pro-slavery Democratic Party, North and South. So here we get a hint at how the Democrats have been ingenious at covering up their historical crimes. How do they do it? They figure out a way to put the blame on somebody else. It wasn't us, it was the South. It wasn't us, it was the white man. It wasn't us, it was America. America did this, America did that. Well, wait a minute. If America did it, it would still be going on. Obviously, some Americans did it, and other Americans stopped them. Now, once slavery ended, the Democratic Party became the party of segregation, Jim Crow, and the Ku Klux Klan. Every segregation law in the South, and there is no exception, was passed by a Democratic legislature, signed by a Democratic governor, and enforced by Democratic sheriffs and authorities. The Democratic Party used the Ku Klux Klan as a terrorist arm of its own political machine.
So the gun-toting Republicans whooped their ass back in the Civil War. Said no more slaves, people. And they used the Ku Klux Klan as a terrorist arm for its own political machine. But now they want nothing, you know, they don't want to be tied to the Ku Klux Klan. So they're blaming it on the right, which the Ku Klux Klan has nothing to do with the right. But they need a new terrorist arm for their political machine. Do you think maybe the LGBTQ thing maybe fits into that little category now? Possibly.
I quote here the progressive historian Eric Foner, who says that the KKK was for 30 years, quote, the domestic terrorist arm of the Democratic Party, end quote. It was a Confederate general, Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was a delegate to the DNC, who started the Klan. And then Republicans passed a series of laws outlawing the Klan until a Democratic president, Woodrow Wilson, revived the Klan in the early 20th century. How did he do it? He showed a pro-Ku Klux Klan movie to his cabinet in the White House. And this led to a Klan revival not just in the South, but also in the Midwest and in the West. And the Democrats, who hate to talk about any of this, you notice that they have rather deftly left it out of a lot of history books. But when they are forced to admit it, they go, well, yeah, gee, but you know what? We did the civil rights movement. Don't you know that that was Lyndon Johnson? We take credit for that. We did that one. Except they didn't. If you want to, you can simply check, and these days it's beautiful, you can do this on 1 minute on your phone. Look at the roll call vote on the civil rights movement of the 60s. You will discover that proportionately more Republicans voted for the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Fair Housing Bill of 1968 than Democrats. If the Democrats had been the only party in the Congress, none of these laws would have passed. And the main opposition to civil rights came from the Democratic Party. And at this point, the progressives say, but haven't you heard about the big switch? Don't you know that the two parties switched sides? Now, the whole concept of the two parties switch sides is a little strange. It's a little bit like saying, just one day, all the cops decided to become robbers, and all the robbers decided to become cops. I mean, on the face of it, that's unlikely. But is it even true? Did the racist Democrats in the 60s become Republicans? Well, the beauty of this is that in the movie, I decide to count. And so I made a list of all these racist Dixiecrats, and then I simply noted how many of them became Republicans. And I came up with the answer. I'm not very good in math. Happily, it only required one hand. The correct answer is 1. Strom Thurmond, who used to be a Dixiecrat, he became a Republican. All the other Dixiecrats stayed. They remained in the Democratic Party. And a very telling symbol of this is that in 2010, when Robert Byrd died, Robert Byrd, by the way, was a longtime member of the Ku Klux Klan. He said it was the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan who motivated him to get into politics. And yet, he was called the conscience of the Senate. Hillary made a video talking about how he was her mentor. Obama and Bill Clinton went to his funeral. And Bill Clinton discussed his involvement in the Klan and made this statement. He said, in effect, don't be too hard on old Robert Byrd for being in the Klan. You had to be in the Klan in order to advance in the Democratic Party. You had to be in the Klan. You just had to. Now, this is the actual history of the Democratic Party. Women's rights. We hear all this talk about women's rights right now. The Democratic Party historically is the party that fought to block women's suffrage for 30 years.
You know, I used to hear some people say that 9/11 was an inside job. Like that our own government would fly planes into these buildings and make them, you know, and kill all these people. And it's like, I just couldn't believe it. Like I didn't want to accept it. Like I'm like, no, there's no way, man. There's no way our own government would do that. Like not here. You know what I mean? Not here. But it seems like Ku Klux Klan, you know, it was for a reason. They used it as like their own little mafia. There's always this violence key. The Democrats are surrounded by war and violence. And you actually see it from the leftists. They are the violent ones. They are the ones that are violent. It's not the right, it's the left. The left are the racist, fascist, violent people. But yet they call us that. They obviously don't know definitions. Jesus Christ, these people are fucked. It's amazing. It just keeps getting better. And I've got proof right here that they really don't care about skin color. It has nothing to do with skin color. So you remember Kyle Rittenhouse, he went out and he was actually protecting a friend's business because the mob was out there. They were burning innocent people's businesses down. Even if they had signs that said, you know, Black Lives Matter or whatever in the windows, they were still burning them down. It didn't matter. They were going out and they were burning, destroying, looting. And he was standing guard and was tired of it. You're not burning this place down. And then people attacked him pointed a gun in his face, and he defended himself and shot and killed one person. And they wanted, and because he was white, that's what they said, right? He was white. He killed somebody. It's got to be white supremacy. It's got to be. They wanted him in jail, but yeah, it was a clear-cut case of self-defense. And now we have another white guy who just came out and admitted to essentially murdering somebody. Just look at this. Look at this.
A North Dakota man says he intentionally hit and killed an 18-year-old with his car, all over a political dispute. He told police he chased that teenager down around town because he thought the victim was part of a Republican extremist group. Matt Finn is live in Los Angeles with the story. Matt.
Harris, 18-year-old Kaylor Ellingson's family and that community are grieving his death at such a young age. The North Dakota Highway Patrol tells Fox News what led to Ellingson's death is under investigation, and here's what we know. Police say Shannon Brandt called 911 on himself last Sunday after he struck and killed 18-year-old Kaylor Ellingson. Highway Patrol tells us Brandt and the 18-year-old had some type of altercation at an outdoor street concert. The teen called his mother twice in the early morning hours, saying he was being chased. Court documents show that Brandt told officers that the teen was threatening him. Later telling police, Brandt admitted to striking the pedestrian, that teen, with his car because he had a political argument with the pedestrian and believed the pedestrian was calling people to come get him. Brandt admitted to state radio that he hit the pedestrian and that pedestrian was part of a Republican extremist group. Police tell Fox News so far they do not think Brandt and Ellison knew each other. They say the suspect, Brandt, admitted to drinking, is charged with vehicular homicide with a DUI and leaving the scene of a fatal crash. They have conducted multiple interviews and have not been able to confirm that Ellingson was a part of any Republican extremist group. Police tell us they are not ruling out that a political argument started all of this, but right now they haven't identified any witnesses to corroborate Brandt's account.
So wait, this guy must be a white supremacist too, right? Because that's what they called Kyle for killing a white guy. This white guy killed a white guy, so he should be one too, right? And this was actually his second Dewey. 2 DUIs. He's still driving, and he called and admitted intent. He said, I ran him over and killed him because he was a right-wing extremist. He's a kid. But do you see? Because he's a leftist, they let him out. $50,000 bail, and he walked right out. Essentially just got away with murder. And you still think it has something to do with skin color? I don't know. I'm not buying it. Oh, but people, it just keeps getting better. European Parliament says natural gas projects can be considered green for investments. Maybe they figured out that the whole fossil fuel bullshit is all bullshit. The only people they're hurting is themselves. We've been moving in the right direction already. You know, we were burning wood, then we found coal, which those were both kind of really bad. But then we found natural gas and fossil fuels, which was more energy dense and better for the environment than the previous two. And then we found nuclear, which is by far the cleanest energy source we have to date. As long as you don't build one in Tornado Alley or too close to the coast. Just do your research where you put a plant. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm going to have to say I called this. They are going to normalize the pedophilers. They're going to peddle pedophilia. Washington Post slammed for minimizing pedophilia. He's not a pedophile. He just likes kids. That's all. Oh, and he wants to use the female bathroom. because he's transgender. You know what? Honestly, I thought this was going to be the line, and I hope it is. I really, really hope it is. I hope this is the line in the sand that people will not cross. All right? Maybe they went along with all the other left ideas that are crazy, but pedophilia, like, you should not cross that line. That is a very bad line to cross. And I hope they lose voters over this, but honestly, I don't know that they will. People are fucked. Is this real? Are we in the Matrix right now? Dr. Filer here says that pedophilia has been widely viewed as a psychological disorder triggered by early childhood trauma. Because that is what it is. So is the LGBTQ plus XYZRB plus. It's a psychological disorder. Gender dysphoria. That's why it's dysphoria, but they call it GD now. They like to abbreviate, so they don't actually have to say that dysphoria word, because then if you actually say that word, it like kind of doesn't, yeah. But you know what words they do like? They like the words experts and scientists. Where is it? Right there. Scientists and experts. Right? They love to throw those words around. Wait, you don't trust the experts? Like Fauci? You mean? They got like everything wrong? And yet you want me to trust the experts and the scientists? I don't know. Because, you know, you can have two different scientists go out into the field and study the same thing, and they can both come back with different data and different opinions. And that's the whole point of discourse and discussing and arguing facts and points and talking things out to come up with the best possible solution, I guess. But now we're not allowed to do that. You have to just trust the experts. They know more than you. Even the experts that got censored, like the one that invented the mRNA vaccine, the actual guy who invented the freaking thing. He has the patent on the technology, and he came out and he started raising flags about the vaccine, and they shut him down and censored him. Isn't he an expert? A scientist that we should trust? Yeah, I don't buy any of it. It's all bullshit. So now many experts see it as a biologically rooted condition that does not change, like sexual orientation. So these findings have been widely accepted amongst scientists, but had little impact on social attitudes or law. Wait, you want to change the law? Yeah, let them out. They don't need to be in jail. They're just like kids. However, we are left with the alarming question: if some men are born pedophiles, what should society do with them? Bolstered by this research, pedophiles who have never molested children are seeking social acceptance. So you still want to vote Democrat this coming election? If the answer is yes, then you need serious help. You need medication. I suggest going out to Philly and getting some of that horse tranquilizer and fentanyl. You might like it. It might help. I don't know. But if the answer was no, you don't want to vote for Democrats, then that's a good thing. But you actually have to go out and vote, because if you're one of those people that doesn't go and vote, you're essentially by default giving your vote to the Democrats. So it's extremely important that you get out and vote this coming election so all of this nonsense can end. You know, gas prices come back down, grocery prices back down, inflation back down, stock market back up, retirement account back up. You know what I mean? Yeah. See you later. What in the hell? Nancy Pelosi, what are you doing here? Get out of here.